Hey folks, and welcome to DevTrends. Today we're gonna talk about Stack Overflow Developer Survey 2018, a smoosh-gate debate, and React tutorial in 20 minutes. So, Stack Overflow Developer Survey, as you can guess from the title, is an annual survey among developers all over the world being run by Stack Overflow team. This is one of the most comprehensive developer surveys that includes all the aspects of a developer life, starting from what code editor do you use and ending with how early you wake up. And recently the 2018 year results were published, so let's do a quick tour on them. So there are multiple sections, each of which covers specific topic like common knowledge about demographics and years of developer experience. For example, in developer profile section there are not so many changes from the last year, but the interesting fact that the vast majority of responders are men, and they are more than 90% here. Also, if we switch to developer roles, there's interesting fact that about 80% of developers have coding as a hobby and code outside of work, spending on computer more than 9 hours a day. But probably the most interesting part is technology. Let's switch to it. And here JavaScript keeps leadership, and if I recall correctly, for 4 years already, and with node.js following as server framework of choice. It's about 50%. So next are databases which have SQL domination, and Linux is the most used, most popular platform in general. And interestingly enough, let's go to left. Rust is the most loved language in the world for 3 years already, with Kotlin following with minimal margin. And here is the most dreaded tab. And here we can see the most dreaded language, the majority of which are just legacy and almost not used anymore, like CoffeeScript, for example, here, which gave its best features to the ECMAScript and went to REST after. And in Wanted tab, there is a Python in the leadership, and not surprisingly, because Python is a language of choice for the emerging machine and deep learning trends in recent years. And you can clearly see that in the next section, where the most loved library is TensorFlow. And TensorFlow is machine learning framework written in Python. And in other sections, in other results, we can see, for example, Visual Studio Code is rightfully the most popular code editor. And next, we can see that Windows still has popularity among the developers, though Mac OS and Linux provide much better overall developer experience. So worth noting that with such surveys there cannot be comprehensive yet concise summary, because each developer has their own valuable piece of information. So you should definitely go through all the sections you're interested in by yourself. There is plenty of useful information, and if you prefer to read, in each part of the survey you can find a pretty good summary from Stack Overflow team. In the past week there was a lot of tension in Twitter caused by actions of TC39, a technical committee which develops new specifications of JavaScript. Such tensions were summarized and called smoosh-gate, and that's all because of TC39 proposal to rename some array methods, specifically flatten and flatmap, to smoosh and smooshmap accordingly. They proposed this because MoTools, which was a popular library for building UI like about 10 years ago, already had flatten and flatmap, so array prototype methods. So that means if JavaScript implemented this as native methods, some small percent of really old websites using more tools won't be able to upgrade for any reason, would stop working. And this was sufficient reason for smoosh to appear. The relevant issue quickly gained mostly negative reception, as you can see here, and transformed into hot discussions all around Twitter whether it's acceptable to make JavaScript earlier, whether just to support few really old websites. There is even there is a hot discussion on Twitter summarized, and there is even a repository called Prevent Smoosh that is actually a monkey patch adding smoosh and smoosh map to array prototype for the single reason to be used on the sites and prevent TC39 from adopting it. Moreover, some big names like Sean Larkin, creator of Webpack, and developers of Microsoft OneDrive were seriously considering adding Prevent Smoosh into the core of their projects. However, I don't really think it would land somewhere anyway. And more interestingly, this is not the first time legacy mod tools code is preventing to implement new ECMAScript features. For example, there was pretty similar struggle with string prototype contains some time ago, and this method was renamed to includes, as when contains was implemented in Firefox. You can see the article in MDN about it. So when contains was implemented in Firefox, some websites relied on mod tools stopped working because of the name clash, and then contains was renamed to includes just because of it. So ECMAScript committee decided to change method name to includes in order for newer JavaScript to be backwards compatible with older websites. And probably the main problem is mod tools itself, because mod tools monkey page native prototype adding missing methods, which is already bad practice. But more dreadfully, if such methods are implemented in native JavaScript, mod tools will just start to use the native ones, breaking all the following code. But the main point arising from smoosh-gate discussion is whether should we break the web or not. And I think it's quite incorrect question, because few old non-maintained websites are really not the web. And this is not the reason for JavaScript not to move towards a better future and evolve to easier and more understandable yet feature-rich language. Because some libraries from the ancient times decided it was good to utilize bad practices. JavaScript is the fastest developing language of all, and while it definitely comes at cost, the outcome is outstanding. Language initially built to fit well with Java in Netscape browser is now the most popular programming language in the world, both in the web and on servers. In just a few years, we've come the road from JavaScript fatigue to JavaScript renaissance, and all of JavaScript and overall web technology greatness simply wouldn't exist if browser vendors were afraid that some old clunky Internet Explorer 6 quirks used on some dusty websites would stop working if they pushed the new language features in their browsers. And that's definitely just my personal opinion, but we really shouldn't be afraid of changes. We should keep the web moving forward. So let's move on to React. So when we want to learn something new, it's almost always a struggle to find the best way to do it. In the case of React, this struggle just multiplies, because the vast majority of React intros and tutorials are not really concentrated on React itself, but on how to bootstrap your application using Webpack, Babel, React, Redux, Router, and so on. And lucky you if you know what each tool is for. But what if you just want to know how React works without all the site loading? Well, now you have a little bit more options, because Tyler McGuinness recently posted a React tutorial which takes roughly 20 minutes of your time but guides you through all the basics of React and without all the clutter. The awesome part of it that it has all the definitions of React terms you will meet on your React journey. Here is it. And you don't even need to open your code editor, because all the examples here are live and editable on Code Sandbox right here. This React tutorial is a short summary from more comprehensive React fundamentals course, which is subscription based, but React tutorial is completely free. So whether you're just starting working with React or want to double check some points, React tutorial is is an awesome way to read through it. And just for reference, there is another guide I like to revisit from time to time. It's called React Express. And this is a concise guide to React and all its features with short examples of its concepts. You'll find the link to it in the description. So that's all for today, folks. All the links are in the description below. Thank you for watching and stay trendy.